What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Rich, back to bring you your MLB props for July the 1st. Can't believe it's July. Happy Canada Day to all the Canadians out there, and happy July 4th over the weekend. Everybody's celebrating in America. It's a great time, man. It's holidays, people celebrating, having fun, getting drunk. I mean, maybe you want to go to a baseball game. Maybe you want to bet on some of these games. That's why I'm here for you. MLB props today, July 1st. Massive slate, lots of weather concerns, unfortunately. So we will dive into that first. So let's dive into the weather reports right now. So let's start off. Kevin Roth, Roto Grinders, does a great job summarizing everything for us. First game, we'll talk about Boston, Chicago. There's potentially some wind, 10 miles an hour. He gives it to a yellow-orange, so there's a chance of heavier showers, but they'll probably play through the delay. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not all in on a ton of guys from that game anyway, so not overly concerned, but wanted to point it out. St. Louis and Philly, some showers, possibly late start, but not too bad overall. Washington, similar to Philadelphia, potentially a delay, but not a concern for no game at all. And then as well, you see Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, potentially some rain, but not too bad. The two games that are concerning are the Royals and the Tigers. It's supposed to rain here in Toronto a lot. Detroit, very close by. So he's saying widespread thunderstorms gradually clearing throughout the evening. Could be a late start, play a couple hours, but a postpone is definitely possible. And same thing with New York and Cleveland. Similar type of weather area, right? Lots of wind, potentially some rain. He's giving it an orange right now. So you may want to double check if you're playing any Yankees or Guardians today. Those are the two games that are really bad. Atlanta, Cincy is one where we may see some issues, but overall it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. Again, yellow, orange isn't terrible. Could be a bit of a delay, but again, we'll see what happens. That, of course, big game there between Atlanta and Cincy. People love to attack Cincinnati, tons of runs, especially in that ballpark. But let's dive into the actual plays for today. Now, the only guy I think is a little bit concerning is the Miami-Washington game, but overall, we should be all right. So let's dive into the plays. Josh Bell, O'Neal Cruz, Javi Baez, who, again, we may not be playing today, Julio Rodriguez, JD Martinez, and Jesus Aguilar. So we'll start with Josh Bell. Dude has been on fire lately, frankly. He's been so good. 11.92 over his last 14, 12.67 over his last 7. Tons of extra base hits, which you know I love to see. All over a hit and a half per game, almost 3 total bases per game, a run per game, half an RBI per game. Again, Trevor Rogers, been terrible. Really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He had a good last start, but overall he's been walking a ton of guys. You see Josh Bell has hit this number in 4 of his last 10 games. You know, he was a little bit slow for a while, but he's coming on now, playing much better. Line of 7 is, man, I don't know if I love a line of 7, but where I am liking is he's hit 5 in each of his last 6 games, right? So he's not necessarily getting to 7 every game, but there's a really good shot that goes over today. You see the P-Val number is looking great. Great matchup. Trevor Rogers' fastball has been getting hit really hard this season. Again, he did have a good last start, but I'm not going to bank on that being the norm quite yet. He could definitely turn it around. He's been struggling with walks, struggling with command. So again, this is an area where Josh Bell could easily get an RBI, score some runs, get on base frequently, which I love to see. And especially with how well he's hitting the ball recently, I'm definitely inclined to like Josh Bell today. Then you get into O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz, projection of only 4.5. I'm projected for 7.21. Barely cracked 60% threshold. He's hit it in 6 of his last 10 games. But the issue for me is he's never faced Corbin Burnes before. And everyone who knows Corbin Burnes knows he's pretty good. So that's the big fear, right, with O'Neal Cruz. Is as good as he is, as talented as he is, he ain't seen someone like Corbin Burnes at any point in his life. So that's the big thing. You see the pitch value factor is much lower for O'Neal Cruz, which makes sense given how talented Corbin Burnes is. You know, he could easily rack up 13, 14 strikeouts today in a 7-inning affair. Like, it's just not great. Again, low total if you want to target him. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably stay away. And then getting into Javi Baez. Again, Baez has been killing it lately. He's coming out of a very hot stretch for him. 8 over his last 10. He's gone over 6.5. 10.34 projection, as you can see, 12.73 over his last 14 days, and 9.2 over his last 7. As you can see here by kind of the spray chart, he's been very hot over the past little while, but kind of cooled down for a couple games, but went back and had a great game in his last affair. So overall, do like him against Brad Keller, who's been fine as a pitcher, nothing great. But again, there is the concerns of the weather here, so I wouldn't go all in on Baez because there's a chance they get a shortened game, doesn't get the requisite at-bats to get over, so there is possibilities of a rain out there, so I would be a little bit careful going all in on Javi Baez. And then Julio Rodriguez, who is just a man-possessed, a monster. Love to play Julio Rodriguez whenever I can. Up against James Caprillion, who is, a fine pitcher. He's not pitching his best, but he's a little bit better than I think people are giving him credit for. But you see, the biggest thing with these three guys, whether it's Bell, whether it's Baez, whether it's Rodriguez, all are hitting fastballs very well. All have plus pitch matchups, which I love to see. Basically just means that they're hitting very well against the pitcher's pitches over the last 14 days. The pitcher values are determined over the last 30 days because they don't pitch as often, so you want a slightly larger sample for those guys. I do like Julio again today. I think he's in a great spot. Up against Oakland, they put up a ton of runs on Oakland yesterday. I think there's just another great shot of another over playing in Seattle. Slightly better ballpark factor than in Oakland. And as well, that bullpen's not good. You see he's hitting double digits basically every time he goes over. He hit a home run a few days ago. 6 of his last 10 he's gone over. He probably went over yesterday, although I didn't look at his full stats. But Seattle put up a ton of runs, played great. So I do like Julio Rodriguez in this matchup. I think if I was picking two guys, I'd probably build around Josh Bell and Julio Rodriguez. I'd probably wait on Baez if I was looking at overs. And for a few unders, because I know people like to play some unders, JD Martinez looks like he's in a great spot, man. Adrian Sampson has been pitching well. You see the P-Val matchup is not good. Martinez has been struggling. Even though he's batting in the middle of that Boston lineup, he's not playing well. 4.42 over his last 14, 6.5 over his last 7 days. You see half a hit per game, not even a total base per game. He'll draw some walks, which is good, but almost 0 extra base hits, which is probably the most concerning part. If he's just slapping singles, he's not going to get it done, not to get to 7.5. You see 1, 4, 0, 0. He has 115. The only game he's gone over in 1 of 10. I think JD Martinez is a better under than even Jesus Aguilar, but Jesus Aguilar as well, he's getting the hit per game, which is good. Always a chance for the runs, the RBIs, all that kind of stuff. But again, almost 0 extra base hits. Josiah Gray has a 1.13 ERA in the month of June. Of course, it's a new month, but he's been pitching out of his mind. Also has a lot of strikeout upside as well. You can see that Aguilar's been hitting the fastball pretty well with that 0.48 factor there, but it's the slider that Josiah Gray has been really doing damage with and is where Jesus Aguilar will really struggle. And as you see here, he's only hit this number in 3 of his last 10 games. And more importantly, he hasn't hit it in his last 5 games. So he's kind of coming into a bit of a slump where you see the last 14 days, his average is a little bit higher, but over the last 7, 2.60 points per game. Like I mentioned, big slump. Jazz Chisholm isn't going to play in this one, or very unlikely to play. He got hurt, which again lowers the upside because he gets on base, RBI potential, all that stuff. He really lifts that lineup, and him not being there is a big plus for Josiah Gray in this matchup. So yeah, I'd be looking at Josh Bell and Julio Rodriguez, and then as well, I don't mind a under for both JD Martinez and Jesus Aguilar. I think those are the plays that I'm looking at right now, but make sure you check the weather. I kind of gave you an overview of the weather so far, but I would check it again just to make sure. PrizePicks doesn't move these lines very often, and I don't think they're going to move them at all today. You just want to look for those postponements. Make sure you're good on the weather reports before you start placing all these bets. Guys get postponed, you get screwed over. I do like Baez quite a bit, again, but there are the weather concerns. Up against Brad Keller, not a great pitcher, but a fine pitcher overall. So I would just make sure I double check that, and make sure, as always, if you tail, give them hell, and if we fail, do not bail. Drop me a like if you like this video and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm out. Peace.